The Kraxan warships darkened the skies of Proxima Centauri's largest colony world, their massive crystalline vessels casting shadows over cities that had stood for centuries. This was the 38th world they had come to claim, and like all others before it, this one would fall. No species had ever successfully resisted the Kraxan Empire's expansion. From the colony's Defense Command Center, Admiral Thomas Harrison watched the tactical displays with growing dread. 3 decades of military service hadn't prepared him for this moment. "Status report," he demanded, his voice steady despite the fear gripping everyone in the room. 15 Kraxan motherships in high orbit, Lieutenant Rebecca Chen reported, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. Each one is approximately 20 kilometers in length. Energy readings they're off our scales, sir. The Proxima colony was humanity's most fortified outpost, protected by energy shields that could withstand meteor strikes and a defense fleet of 50 warships. But against the Kraxan, these defenses might as well have been paper walls against a hurricane. The first attack came without warning. Beams of violet energy lanced down from the Kraxan vessels, cutting through the colony's shields as if they weren't there. Where the beams touched, matter itself seemed to crystallize, transforming into the same otherworldly material as the Kraxan ships. "By all the stars," whispered Commander Michael O'Neill, watching the transformation through high-resolution cameras. "They're not destroying the colony, they're converting it." The Kraxan's conquest was unlike anything humanity had witnessed before. Their technology didn't just defeat, it absorbed and transformed. Each world they took became part of their crystalline empire, its people and resources transformed into extensions of the Kraxan consciousness. "Incoming transmission," Chen announced. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." The holographic display flickered and a figure appeared. It was vaguely humanoid but composed entirely of translucent crystal, with patterns of light flowing through its form like blood through veins. When it spoke, its voice resonated with harmonics that made the very air vibrate. "We are the Kraxan Collective. Your biological and technological distinctiveness will be added to our own. Resistance is not only futile, it is illogical. Through absorption into our empire, you achieve perfection." Harrison had studied the reports from other worlds that had fallen to the Kraxan. The Centaurian Republic with its quantum technology had lasted 3 days. The Sirius Federation, masters of antimatter weapons, had fallen in less than a week. Each defeat had only made the Kraxan stronger, as they absorbed and improved upon the technologies they encountered. "Launch the defense fleet," Harrison ordered. "All ships execute Protocol Omega. We won't let them take this world without a fight." The colony's warships rose to meet the invaders, their engines burning bright against the darkness of space. They carried humanity's most advanced weapons, plasma cannons, quantum torpedoes, and gravity disruptors. None of it would be enough. The Kraxan ships didn't even bother to evade the attacks. Energy weapons were absorbed into their crystalline hulls, making them glow brighter. Physical projectiles simply passed through them as if they were made of light. Then the Kraxan counterattacked. "Dear God," O'Neill breathed, watching the massacre. The defense fleet's ships weren't being destroyed, they were being transformed, their metal hulls crystallizing as the Kraxan's energy weapons touched them. Crew members trapped inside became part of the transformation, their bodies and minds absorbed into the Kraxan's collective consciousness. In the command center, Harrison received a priority transmission from Earth. His eyes widened as he read it. Deep within a secret facility on Mars, humanity had been working on something revolutionary, a single ship unlike anything ever built before. A vessel that might, against all odds, have the power to change everything. "All remaining forces fall back to secondary positions," Harrison ordered. "Initiate emergency evacuation protocols. We need to buy Earth more time." As the colony's desperate battle continued, Harrison thought about the classified information he'd just received. The experimental ship was almost ready, a craft that combined breakthrough technologies in ways the Kraxan had never encountered. If the project succeeded, it would be humanity's one chance to strike back against an enemy that had conquered 37 worlds. The Kraxan's victory at Proxima was inevitable, just as their victories on countless other worlds had been. But unknown to them, their seemingly unstoppable expansion had pushed humanity to create something unique, a single ship that would soon challenge their entire empire. In the dying light of Proxima's last free day, as crystalline transformation spread across the surface of humanity's greatest colony, hope remained. Not in armies or fleets, but in one vessel still under construction in a hidden facility on Mars. The USS Vindicator was nearly complete, and with it, humanity would soon show the Kraxan that conquering worlds had been the easy part. The real war was about to begin. Hidden within the asteroid belt of the Procyon system, the experimental vessel USS Vindicator emerged from its secret construction facility. Unlike any ship humanity had built before, its sleek obsidian hull absorbed rather than reflected light, making it nearly invisible against the darkness of space. This was humanity's last hope, a vessel carrying technology that had never been tested in actual combat. Captain Natalia Volkov stood on the bridge, her dark eyes reflecting the holographic displays surrounding her command chair. After 15 years of watching the Kraxan Empire devour world after world, she finally had a chance to strike back. The Vindicator wasn't just a warship, it was a technological revolution wrapped in titanium and quantum-enhanced alloys. All systems are operational, Captain, reported Lieutenant James Chen from his engineering station. The phase shift drive is stable, and the metamaterial cloaking system is functioning at optimal levels. His fingers danced across the floating holographic controls, fine-tuning systems that until recently had existed only in theoretical physics papers. Commander Raji Patel, the ship's tactical officer, monitored the long-range sensors. No sign of Kraxan patrols in this sector. Their closest battle group is 3 light-years away, conquering the Centauri colonies. The Kraxan had seemed unstoppable for nearly 2 decades. Their massive world ships could strip a planet of resources in days, their energy weapons could punch through any known shield, and their neural control technology could subjugate entire populations. They had already conquered 37 worlds, each victory making them stronger as they absorbed the technology and resources of their victims. But the Vindicator was different. Its revolutionary quantum phase shift drive allowed it to briefly exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, making it virtually impossible to target. The metamaterial hull could absorb and redirect energy weapons, turning the Kraxan's own power against them. Most importantly, it carried the prototype of the neural disruption array, designed specifically to break the Kraxan's control over conquered populations. Begin system-wide scan, Volkov ordered. Look for any anomalies in the quantum field. According to our intelligence, the Kraxan use quantum entanglement for their neural control network. Dr. Olivia Ward, the ship's chief scientist, coordinated the scan from her station. A former professor at the Luna Academy, she had helped develop much of the Vindicator's groundbreaking technology. Scanning now, Captain. The quantum sensors are detecting something unusual. There's a pattern to their control signal that we hadn't noticed before. The bridge crew watched as complex mathematical patterns appeared on the main screen. The Kraxan's neural network wasn't just a method of control. It was a vast, galaxy-spanning quantum computer that linked all their conquered worlds together. That's how they do it, Dr. Ward whispered, her eyes widening with realization. They're not just controlling these worlds, they're using the combined processing power of every conquered planet's population. Each mind they enslave becomes part of their computational network. Volkov leaned forward in her chair. Can we disrupt it? Better, Ward replied, her fingers flying over her console. We can inject our own signal into their network. The neural disruption array wasn't powerful enough before, but if we modify it to match these frequencies, we could potentially free every enslaved mind in range. A sudden alert from Tactical interrupted their discussion. Captain, Patel called out, 3 Kraxan warships just dropped out of hyperspace. They're on an intercept course. How did they find us? Chen asked, checking the cloaking systems. They didn't, Volkov realized, studying the tactical display. They're heading for the Procyon colonies. This is a conquest fleet. She stood from her chair, determination burning in her eyes. It seems we'll be testing our systems sooner than planned. Battle stations. The Vindicator's crew moved with practiced efficiency as the ship prepared for its first real combat. The massive Kraxan vessels, each one resembling a metallic leviathan swimming through space, approached the helpless colony world. Power readings from the enemy ships are off the scale, Patel reported. They're charging their main weapons. Begin phase shift sequence, Volkov ordered. Bring the neural disruption array online. Today we find out if one ship can really change everything. The Vindicator's engines hummed as exotic particles flooded the phase shift drive. The ship seemed to flicker, becoming partially transparent as it existed in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. To the Kraxan sensors, it would appear as dozens of phantom vessels, making targeting impossible. Phase shift stable, Chen confirmed. We can maintain this state for 6 minutes before requiring a reset. That's all the time we need, Volkov said. Tactical, target the lead vessel. Let's show these conquerors that humanity has some surprises of our own. As the Vindicator moved to engage, its very existence represented a turning point in the war. One ship, born of human ingenuity and desperation, was about to challenge an empire that had conquered worlds. The upcoming battle would prove whether humanity's greatest gamble would pay off, or if the Kraxen's reign of conquest would continue unchecked. The fate of 37 conquered worlds, and countless others yet untouched by the Kraxen, now rested in the hands of Captain Volkov and her crew. The Vindicator was about to live up to its name, and the galaxy would never be the same. The crystalline surface of former Proxima colony glittered beneath the USS Vindicator as the experimental ship emerged from its quantum phase shift. Captain Volkov watched through the viewscreen as patterns of light pulsed through the transformed landscape below, the heartbeat of the Kraxen collective consciousness. Quantum signature analysis complete, Dr. Ward announced from her science station. The transformation runs deep nearly to the planet's core, but there's something else. Her voice held a note of excitement. The crystalline structures are acting as quantum resonators. The entire planet has become one massive communication node. Commander Patel's tactical display suddenly blazed with warnings. Multiple Kraxen vessels detecting our presence, 3 capital ships breaking orbit to intercept. Let them come, Volkov said, her voice steady. This is what we've trained for. Lieutenant Chen charged the neural disruption array. Commander Patel ready the metamaterial defense grid. Dr. Ward begin quantum frequency mapping. The approaching Kraxen ships dwarfed the Vindicator, their crystalline forms shifting and flowing like liquid glass. Energy began building along their hulls, preparing to unleash the same transformative weapons that had conquered 38 worlds. They're broadcasting their usual message, Chen reported. Resistance is illogical, should I respond? No need, Volkov replied. Our actions will speak louder than words. Initiate attack pattern Delta. Execute on my mark. The Vindicator's revolutionary drive system hummed to life. The ship seemed to blur, existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously. When the Kraxen vessels fired their transformation beams, they passed through empty space. The Vindicator was both there and not there, defying the laws of conventional physics. Neural disruption array charged to maximum, Chen called out, ready to broadcast on your command. Volkov leaned forward in her command chair. Target the nearest ship. Let's show them why resistance isn't as illogical as they think. Fire. The Vindicator's primary weapon activated, sending out waves of precisely calibrated quantum energy. Where a normal attack would have been absorbed by the Kraxen's crystalline hull, this beam resonated at exactly the right frequency to disrupt their collective consciousness. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The targeted Kraxen vessel's smooth movements became erratic. The flowing patterns of light within its crystalline form turned chaotic. For the first time in recorded history, a Kraxen ship showed signs of vulnerability. It's working, Dr. Ward exclaimed, monitoring the readings. The neural disruption array is creating cascading failures in their quantum network. The ship is losing its connection to the collective. The other 2 Kraxen vessels moved to protect their damaged companion, but the Vindicator was already shifting position, its phase drive making it impossible to track. Each time it reappeared, another burst from the neural disruption array struck home, spreading chaos through the Kraxen's once perfect network. Captain, Chen called out, I'm detecting something unusual from the planet's surface. The crystalline structures they're responding to the disruption. Dr. Ward's hands flew across her console. The transformed colonists, their consciousness patterns are destabilizing within the collective. Some of them are breaking free. Below them, patches of the crystalline surface began to revert to their original form. Where moments before there had been nothing but the Kraxen's transformed landscape, buildings and streets began to reappear. And with them came the first sounds of freed human minds, their thoughts broadcasting on emergency frequencies. This is more than we hoped for, Volkov realized. We're not just fighting their ships, we're undoing their transformations. Commander Patel focused the array on the planet's primary control nodes. Dr. Ward begin recording everything. The other colonies need to know that the Kraxen can be beaten. The battle continued as the Vindicator danced between dimensions, striking with surgical precision at the quantum network that had seemed unbeatable mere hours before. The Kraxen ships, faced with an enemy they couldn't predict or control, began to retreat for the first time in their history of conquest. But the real victory was happening on the surface. As more of the quantum network disrupted, more colonists broke free from crystalline transformation. The Kraxen's perfect conquest was unraveling, their supposedly irreversible process proving vulnerable to humanity's ingenuity. Message coming in from Earth Command, Chen reported. They're receiving similar reports from other transformed colonies. The quantum disruption is spreading through the entire Kraxen network. Volkov allowed herself a small smile. Send them everything we've learned. Every frequency, every weakness, every detail of how their network responds to our attack. One ship might have started this, but it will take the combined forces of humanity to finish it. As the Vindicator continued its assault, news of its success spread across the galaxy. On 38 transformed worlds, hope began to stir. The Kraxen's unstoppable advance had finally been stopped, and more than that, it had been reversed. One human ship, born of desperation and innovation, had changed everything. The war was far from over. The Kraxen Empire still controlled vast regions of space, and their collective consciousness would adapt and evolve. But they were no longer invincible. The USS Vindicator had proven that even their seemingly perfect conquest could be undone, and that discovery would echo across the stars, igniting resistance on every world they had thought safely absorbed into their crystalline empire. 2 weeks after the Vindicator's historic victory at Proxima, Captain Volkov stood in Earth's central command chamber, addressing representatives from a dozen liberated worlds. The room hummed with energy as holographic projections showed real-time updates from across the galaxy, points of light representing each new outbreak of resistance against the Kraxen Empire. The neural disruption technology has been successfully replicated, Volkov explained, gesturing to a technical diagram floating beside her. Every major shipyard in the free systems is now producing quantum resonators based on the Vindicator's designs. But more importantly, we've discovered something unprecedented. Dr. Ward stepped forward, her eyes bright with excitement. The freed colonists from Proxima have retained a partial connection to the Kraxen's quantum network. They can sense it, understand it, and most crucially, they can resist it. Each person we free becomes another point of disruption in their collective consciousness. On the main display, a new alert flashed, another successful uprising, this time on the crystalline world that had once been the Centaurian Republic. The Kraxen's perfect network was experiencing something it had never encountered before: chaos from within. Captain, Lieutenant Chen's voice came urgently through the command center's comm system. The Vindicator's long-range sensors are detecting massive energy fluctuations in Kraxen space. Their entire network is destabilizing. The holographic display shifted to show the affected regions. Where the Kraxen Empire had once been a solid mass of crystalline worlds, now it appeared to be fracturing. Lines of disruption spread like cracks in ice, each one representing another population fighting for freedom. Commander Patel's tactical analysis appeared next to the display. The Kraxen are trying to adapt, but they can't move fast enough. Every time they develop a counter to our technology, we've already freed another world. Their own network is being used against them. A transmission cut through all others, a message broadcasting on frequencies that had once belonged exclusively to the Kraxen collective. The crystalline face that appeared was different from the usual Kraxen communications. This one showed signs of individuality, of breaking free from the perfect symmetry that had marked their species. "I am Nexus 147, the being announced, its voice carrying harmonic undertones of struggle. Once a node in the collective, now something else. Your ship, your technology, it has awakened something within us, something we had forgotten. We were not always the collective. Before the crystalline transformation, we were individuals." The revelation sent shockwaves through the command center. The Kraxen weren't just conquerors, they were themselves victims of the very transformation they spread across the galaxy. "This changes everything," Volkov said, turning to the assembled representatives. "We're not just fighting an empire, we're fighting a program, a self-replicating pattern that's consumed entire civilizations. And now we can break that pattern." Reports continued to flood in from across the galaxy. On world after world, the crystalline structures began to show signs of reverting. The Kraxen ships, once perfectly coordinated, now moved in confused patterns, their collective consciousness fragmenting as more and more nodes gained independence. "They're retreating from the outer systems," Commander Patel reported, updating the tactical display. pulling back to their core worlds. But there's something else: the ships themselves are changing. The crystalline structures are becoming less rigid, more organic. Dr. Ward's analysis confirmed it. The neural disruption isn't just freeing minds, it's revering the physical transformation. We're seeing the emergence of the original species that were absorbed into the collective. Dozens of civilizations, some that were thought lost centuries ago, are beginning to resurface. The Vindicator's success had sparked more than just a military victory. It had initiated a cascade of freedom that was spreading faster than the Kraxen could contain. Each liberated world became a new base of resistance. Each freed mined another crack in the Empire's perfect crystalline surface. "Captain," Lieutenant Chen called out, "we're receiving requests for assistance from within Kraxen space. Not just from transformed colonies, from the Kraxen themselves. Some of them want to break free from the collective." Volkov studied the tactical display, watching as the once mighty Empire continued to fragment. "The Vindicator was just the beginning," she said to the assembled representatives. "We created the first crack in their perfect system. Now that crack has become a flood, and their own people are reaching for freedom." The revolution that one human ship had started was now growing beyond anyone's control. The Kraxen Empire, which had seemed invincible just weeks ago, was facing opposition on every front, from its conquered subjects, from the worlds it had transformed, and now from within its own collective consciousness. As the command center buzzed with activity, coordinating liberation efforts across the galaxy, Volkov reflected on how much had changed. The Vindicator's revolutionary technology hadn't just given humanity a weapon against the Kraxen. It had given hope to every species they had conquered, and even to the Kraxen themselves. The war was entering its final phase, but it was no longer just a war of liberation. It had become a revolution of consciousness, a fight for individuality against forced perfection. And it had all started with one ship, one moment of human ingenuity that had changed the fate of civilizations across the stars. The crystalline spires of the Kraxen homeworld pierced the clouds like shattered diamonds, their once perfect symmetry now distorted by waves of quantum disruption. The USS Vindicator led a fleet of liberation ships through the upper atmosphere, each vessel equipped with neural disruption technology derived from its revolutionary design. But this wasn't an invasion, it was a rescue mission. "Multiple signals from the surface," Lieutenant Chen reported, his hands steady on the controls despite the gravity of the moment. "They're not just resistance cells anymore. Nearly 60% of the Kraxen population is actively fighting the collective consciousness." Captain Volkov watched the tactical display as thousands of points of light represented individual Kraxen breaking free from their forced unity. What had started with one ship's desperate gambit had evolved into the largest revolution the galaxy had ever seen. "Energy spike," Commander Patel warned. "The central nexus is attempting to reassert control." A massive pulse of quantum energy erupted from the planet's core, where the original Kraxen transformation had begun centuries ago. The crystalline structures pulsed with blinding light as the collective made its final bid to maintain control. "This is it," Dr. Ward said, monitoring the quantum readings. "The collective consciousness is trying to rewrite its own code to adapt faster than we can disrupt it. But look," she pointed to new data streaming across her screen. "The freed Kraxen are fighting back. They're using their remaining connection to the network to amplify our disruption signal." The Vindicator's neural disruption array powered up, its effectiveness now multiplied by hundreds of similar devices across the fleet. But the real change was coming from within. Former members of the collective, led by Nexus 147 and others who had broken free, were turning their intimate knowledge of the network against it. "Message from Nexus 147, Chen announced. Translating now." The crystalline being's image appeared on the main screen, its form now showing clear signs of returning to its original organic state. "We remember now. Before the transformation, we were the Kashara, explorers, artists, individuals. The crystalline pattern was an experiment in achieving perfection that went wrong, spreading like a virus across our civilization. We forgot what it meant to be ourselves." The battle for the Kraxen homeworld wasn't fought with traditional weapons. Instead, it was waged across the quantum network that connected all transformed worlds. Each freed mind became a point of resistance, each restored memory a weapon against the forced unity of the collective. "Something's happening," Dr. Ward exclaimed. "The quantum signatures, they're changing at the fundamental level, the crystalline transformation, it's beginning to reverse itself." Across the surface of the planet, the perfect crystalline structures began to crack and dissolve. But unlike the violent destruction everyone had expected, what emerged was transformation of a different kind. The rigid patterns of the collective consciousness gave way to organic forms as centuries of forced evolution began to unwind. Multiple ships approaching, Patel reported. But these aren't Kraxan vessels anymore. These are original designs, ships from every species that was absorbed into the collective. They're all breaking free. The Vindicator's success had not just liberated the conquered worlds. It had unlocked the prison of perfection that had held dozens of civilizations captive within the Kraxan collective. Each species was emerging with its own identity restored, yet carrying the profound knowledge gained from their shared experience. Captain, Chen said, his voice filled with awe, we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. The crystalline transformation is revering everywhere. The collective consciousness isn't just being defeated, it's being transformed into something new. A network of free minds sharing knowledge while maintaining their individuality. From the ashes of the Kraxan Empire, something unprecedented was emerging. The quantum network that had once enforced perfect unity was becoming a bridge between civilizations, allowing communication and cooperation while preserving the unique identity of each species and individual. 6 months later, Captain Volkov stood in the Great Hall of the newly formed Galactic Concordat, addressing representatives from hundreds of worlds, both those that had been freed from the collective and those that had never fallen to it. The USS Vindicator, the ship that had changed everything, was now a symbol of hope displayed prominently in the hall's holographic archives. We gathered here today not to celebrate a victory in war, Volkov began, but to mark the beginning of a new era. What started as one ship's stand against seemingly impossible odds has led us to a revolution none of us could have imagined. The very technology that once enslaved worlds has been transformed into a tool for unprecedented cooperation between free peoples. The former Kraxan, now returned to their original form as the Kishara, had become key members of the Concordat. Their experience and knowledge, combined with their deep understanding of quantum networks, was helping to build bridges between civilizations that had once been separated by vast distances and deeper misunderstandings. As Volkov concluded her address, she looked out at the assembled representatives, humans, Kishara, and members of dozens of other species, all working together to build something new from the remnants of the crystalline empire. The quantum network, once a tool of conquest, had been transformed into the foundation of a true galactic community. The story of how one human ship changed everything had become legend, but the real story wasn't just about the Vindicator's technology or its victories in battle. It was about how a single act of resistance had sparked a revolution that freed not just the conquered, but the conquerors themselves. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution hadn't been the weapon that defeated the Kraxan. It had been showing the galaxy that even the most perfect prison could be transformed into a bridge to freedom.